It's Valentine's week, so we are rebranding Valentine's Day. Self-love is hard. Most of us were taught that love is earned. Whether it was from our parents, our relationships, society, women are rewarded for self-sacrifice and punished for having standards. Hello, and welcome back to the EmpowerHER podcast. It's Valentine's week, so we are rebranding Valentine's Day. As someone who's married and loves to decenter men, I want to rebrand Valentine's Day as a day for self-love, and not the cheesy kind with like candles and a bubble bath and blah, 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 like the actual self-love kind, the kind of self-love that actually brings you joy, that actually makes you feel good. That's what I want to talk about today. And, we do get self-love messages on February. We absolutely do around Valentine's Day. Again, it's about like getting yourself flowers, taking the bath, saying affirmations in the mirror. And those are not bad things, but I think it's missing the deeper point on what self-love actually means and what self-love looks like. I feel like self-love has been watered down a little bit to basically like aesthetics rather than it being something to come from within. And the thing about self-love is real self-love, deep self-love can be uncomfortable sometimes. It absolutely can be. And that's okay. And I really want this episode to be a take on Valentine's Day, the kind of self-love that's not the cute version, but the real version, the kind of self-love that allows you to seek fulfillment in your career, in your relationships, and in your nervous system. And again, self-love is not about how you treat yourself when things are easy, when things are good. Self-love is about you choosing yourself when it costs you something. So I want to first talk about what self-love is not, so then we can talk about what self-love actually is. So self-love is not avoiding discomfort. If you never feel uncomfortable, you are probably self-abandoning somewhere else, which we know is a problem. Self-love is not about staying quiet to keep the peace. It's not about staying quiet in relationships, at work, and not with family as well. Self-love is not romanticizing burnout, overworking yourself and calling it ambition instead of self-respect. Absolutely not. Self-love is not tolerating inconsistency, disrespect, or chaos just because you're afraid of being alone or starting over. Self-love is not shrinking to be easier to love, manage, or keep. Okay? So now that we know what self-love is not, let's talk about what self-love actually is. Self-love is having boundaries, even if they disappoint other people, and especially when they disappoint other people. Do you know how many times I have been afraid of being honest or making a decision because I was worried about disappointing someone? I was worried about how someone else was going to react. We're not doing that. Self-love is choosing work that aligns with your values, not your ego, okay? Our ego loves to get in the way, and our ego loves to tell us that we should be doing something for pride because we think other people will be happy, because we think it's prestigious, and a lot of people get burned out by doing this, by being in work that they don't actually enjoy. And if you can't leave yet, if you're in a workplace that, you need to have that money, that income, that's totally fine. But then it's about trying to keep your peace as much as possible in that environment that doesn't work for you. Self-love is advocating for yourself instead of hoping someone notices your effort. So it's about writing down your accomplishments, speaking up, asking for more. We talked about this in last week's episode about getting promoted and how to get promoted. It is about speaking up for yourself, standing up for yourself, writing it down, being visible about what you are doing. Self-love is financial responsibility and independence. And this isn't because money is everything. I don't think that everyone needs to strive for having lots and lots of money if that's not something that feels aligned to you. But being financially responsible and being financially independent is very important. And that can look like a lot of different things, but being able to remove yourself from a situation, being able to fix a situation if you need to, those things are important. Self-love is resting before you crash. So, a lot of us rest when our body forces us to, right? When we're sick or when we get an injury, we're like, oh, I guess we have to rest, right? But your body needs rest before that point. And that's where we need to really look at it and say, are we giving ourselves rest or is our body forcing us to do that? Self-love is telling the truth about what no longer works instead of pretending you are fine. Okay. These are really important things, and I really just want you to absorb what I've said and kind of take that in. So, I want to talk about now what self love looks like in relationships specifically. We just talked about career. So, let's talk about what this can look like in a relationship. So, self love is not chasing people who can't meet you emotionally. There is no chemistry, there's no amount of chemistry that is worth chronic anxiety, right? I've been in relationships, one specific where we had insane chemistry and there was a lot of love, but he just couldn't be a good partner. He didn't want to be a good partner. He told me multiple times in many different ways. I didn't listen because I thought that our love, that our chemistry would be able to move past it. And I finally had to realize, like, that's not the person I want to be with. And the person that I'm meant to be with isn't going to react and act that way. Self-love is not over-explaining your needs to someone committed to misunderstanding you. How many times do we, until we're blue in the face, try to tell someone who we are, what makes sense to us? If someone is committed to misunderstanding you, if someone doesn't want to understand you, it doesn't matter how you describe it, how you do it. They're never going to understand because they don't want to understand. They don't want to understand you. The person that loves you and that cares about you and that you should be in a relationship with is a person that is committed to understanding you, that will do anything to see your side, to understand where you're coming from, to understand your background and why you're saying what you're saying. That's what's important. Self-love is choosing partners and friends who respect your time, energy, and boundaries and leaving when they do not. If you have someone that doesn't respect your time, your boundaries, your energy, that's someone that doesn't deeply care about you. Because if they really cared and they really loved you, they would respect those things, right? And they would understand that it's not a lack of love that you're asking or that you have certain boundaries. It's because that's what you need to feel good about yourself. And that's what's super important. Self-love is letting people be disappointed without rescuing them from their feelings. There were so many times in relationships where I didn't stand up for myself. I didn't tell people what was upsetting me because I didn't want to upset them. I didn't want them to be upset, and then I would get triggered by them being upset. So I had to get to a point where I disappointed people, where I said no to things, where I told them actually how I felt. And it was very freeing to me. And for those people that are meant to be in your life, it's not going to affect your relationship deeply. And if it does affect your relationship deeply, well, then you have to think about if those people are people that you wanted in your life in the first place. Self-love is not confusing intensity with intimacy. Again, my relationship that I mentioned earlier, we had a very intense relationship in many ways. Was it intimate though on like an emotional level? I felt very detached from him. I felt like we were only intimate when we were together, and I mean in an emotional way. And then once we were like not together, like as in not in the same place, like he was at his place, I was at mine, I felt this emotional detachment, right? And so it wasn't really intimacy. It was just the intensity that we had when we were together, but those two things aren't the same. Self-love is knowing when love requires effort and when it requires walking away. I truly believe that love is not enough. I think you can love someone and not be with them. I think you can love someone from afar and cheer them on if that's the case, I don't think love is enough. And I think that's really, really important, is like love is totally different than feeling safe, than having those emotional boundaries, than feeling like someone is a good partner. You can love someone and them not be a good partner. It doesn't mean you should be with them. So thinking about yourself and what you actually need and really focusing on that. And I would be remiss to say, to not talk about the fact that self-love is really hard, especially for women. Self-love is hard. And these things that I mention and these tips and things to do, these are not easy, because at the end of the day, most of us were taught that love is earned, whether it was from our parents, our relationships, society. As women, we were taught that we have to do to be loved rather than just be to be loved, right? And we do this through being helpful, being easy, being accommodating, being high achieving, right? Women are rewarded for self-sacrifice and punished for having standards. How many times do we see super successful women who have standards who are single and men don't want to date them and whatever it is? Like, we are punished for having standards. We get berated on the internet for having standards. It's still constant, it's rampant. And so, of course, we feel this way. And then we have neurodivergent women and individuals who often have to learn to mask and overperform to be accepted, which makes self-love feel very unsafe, because you're no longer masking when you have self-love, and you're going into a space and a territory that maybe feels new and uncomfortable. And choosing yourself can feel like a loss before it feels like freedom. You may lose people. You may have changes in relationships. Things may go quiet. Since I started really loving myself and setting boundaries, I have had a lot of people leave my life, a lot of people. And I remember there was a period where I was like, damn, I'm not getting any texts. My chat is dry. And I was really sad about it for a while, and I felt really uncomfortable. I was used to having all these conversations, having people texting me, my friends, and then all of a sudden it was like no one. It was crickets. And I was like, I seriously felt uncomfortable about it. It was so uncomfortable for me to sit in that and feeling like alone. But the thing is, the discomfort is not a sign that you're doing anything wrong. In fact, it's a sign that you're breaking those patterns. So just sitting in that discomfort and knowing that it's okay to feel uncomfortable, because that's where the growth is going to happen. And I just want to reiterate that self-love is not a personality test. It's not a personality trait. It's a practice. It's something that you do daily, just like going to the gym or eating a certain way or whatever it is. It is a daily practice. So a couple of concrete examples just to give you an idea. Start thinking about, what are those boundaries you can start setting? What is self-love that you can start practicing? For work, it would be leaving the meeting when your boundary is crossed, whether that's like a personal relationship or at work, is like leaving that situation if you feel like a boundary was crossed. Taking the rest day without guilt, like if you need to rest, if you don't feel good, like taking that rest day without feeling guilty. Not replying immediately just to seem agreeable. I would have so much anxiety about like replying to people immediately, and like it's not necessary. If it's not an emergency, then you don't need to respond immediately. You have a life, and that can go for work and for friendships and romantic relationships. Saying no without a backup explanation. No is a full sentence. You do not need to over-explain yourself. And choosing the job that supports your life, not just consumes it. I talk a lot about this topic with my clients who are finding new jobs. We're like, okay, what's important to you? Is the money more important? Is it more important to have the work-life balance, right? And it's not to say that you can't have both or all of the things, but it really is about having that conversation and understanding. Self-love is consistency, not grand gestures. And it's about choosing yourself in small ways over and over and over until it becomes your baseline. So ask yourself honestly, okay? We're going to go through some reflection prompts to see how you're feeling in this situation, okay? So definitely write these down. So reflection prompt number 1, where am I performing love instead of practicing it? Number 2, where am I staying because it's familiar, not because it's healthy? Number 3 is, what does self-love cost me right now? Number 4, what would change if I treated my energy like it mattered? Number 5, where am I confusing being needed with being loved? Definitely take some time to think about these, journal on them, reflect on them, and see where you can implement more self-love. And again, self-love is not necessarily soft, it's not necessarily easy, but it's grounded, it's strategic, it's protective, and it's honest. And I just really want you to think this Valentine's Day, whether you're single or not, is what are ways that you can practice self-love? And how does that feel to you? And again, you do not need to become more lovable. You need to love yourself more and be more loyal to yourself. All right. Happy Valentine's Day to all of you who celebrate. Sending you all so much love this week, extra love, since it's that special week. And I hope this episode was helpful. If you loved it, please give it a 5-star review. It really encourages me to do more episodes. I hope y'all have an amazing week, and I'll catch you in the next episode.